Folks, before we start formal proceedings, please give a very warm welcome to James Connolly.
Let us free Ireland. Never mind such base carnal thoughts as work and wages, healthy homes, lives unclouded by poverty. Who makes us pay for permission to live upon it? Let us free Ireland, says the patriot, who won't touch socialism. Let us all join together and crush the brutal Saxon. Let us all join, all classes and creeds, says he. And, says the town worker, after we have crushed the Saxon and freed Ireland, what will we do? Oh, then you can return to your slums as before. Whoop it up for liberty! And, says the agricultural worker, after we have freed Ireland, then what? Oh, then you can go back to scraping around for the landlord's rent. Same as before. Now, isn't that worth fighting for? And when you cannot find employment and give up on life in despair and enter the poorhouse, the band of the nearest regiment of the Irish Army shall escort you to the poorhouse door, to the tune of St. Patrick's Day. Oh, will it not be nice to live in those days, with the green flag flying over us, and an ever-increasing army of unemployed workers walking under the green flag, wishing they had something to eat. Whoop it up for liberty. Therefore I say, let us organise as a class, to meet their masters and destroy their mastership. Organise to drive them from their hold over public life through their political power. Organise to wrench from their rubber clutch the land and the workshop, on and in which they enslave us. Organised to cleanse our social life of the stain of social cannibalism, and from the prey of man upon his fellow man. Organise for a full, free and happy life for all, or for none.
Folks, as we made our final preparations for today, the tragic news from Derry broke this morning, and I would now like to call for a minute's silence in memory of our fellow Belfast citizen, Lyra McKee. Thank you. So, I would now like to invite all of you to give the loudest, the warmest Falls Road welcome to our President, Uachtaráin na hÉireann, Michael D. Higgins.
Míle buchas as an fíorcid fáilte sin, agus an gédal sios is mín le marrá. Comór is bhfuileann se arm an rud a háirle I réir. I just so want to add my voice yet again today of sympathy to the partner and the family of the brave, wonderful journalist and campaigner whose life was taken. Lyra McKee will be remembered for all her work for human rights, and may her death be taken as an opportunity to achieve ever more human rights. Ordwere Hargi a Kahirlak Felia Ferishti here, Winteri Connolly a Corja is a wildest negard common in Erin August Harla. Erin Gidal shes Maragut me gam weekas o clee. As often 14 fólse darish of Romain is Remavan Kele Thiepsan a toy fras the lum. Mar is more and pleasure them hain of ein or Johnton Shaw. I garu girl takta bell ferish here, agus is more an honor than the velid than Okoit Shaw. I knew ta honor de gasak when knew than pobble os kantakin. Nis mona shin, ta lauren at toka. En each conseil swinch agus fiol soon of Yemishi Connolly, a Kilura Sakamora, agus níos tábhachtaí fós. Áit a cuilfar ar orgamas, fís an Connolly go chuirigh níd an gluain seo, agus dóibh siúd a dheochaigh in ornaigh. I wish to extend a very special welcome to all those who have gathered here to honour James Connolly. But first of all, may I say that whatever I say in Irish, I will repeat in English. It is not necessary to be badly mannered to put Irish forward. So, Lord Mayor, Chairman of Fáilte Feirste here, members of the Connolly family and brothers and sisters of the trade union movement in Ireland and abroad, dear friends, as I have just said now in Irish, I would like first of all to thank you all for the very warm welcome that you have given Sabine and I, and I will say how delighted we are to be here. And I deeply appreciate the honour that it is to have been asked by Fáilte Feirste here to formally open what is now a centre for all those interested in matters Irish and in the legacy of the life and thought of James Connolly. And it is so fitting that gathered together for this occasion are those who in their diverse way share in James Connolly's vision and subscribe to its conviction and courage. Women and men who have dedicated themselves to pursuing justice and decent conditions for workers and for the unemployed. And how pleased I am to see these banners that celebrate all of this present here today. The banners reflect those who have sought equality for women and marginalist groups, those who are working towards a fairer society for all. And I'm so pleased that we're joined by so many representatives from the trade union movements in Ireland and Britain and the United States, sharing as they do the international vision that Connolly had. And vision is so necessary. It is within visions of an alternative world that hope is most secure. And I wish to extend a very special welcome to Francis O'Grady, General Secretary of the Trade Union Congress in Britain, and Owen Reedy, Assistant General Secretary of the Irish Congress of Trade Unions. I know from my own experience of the labour movement these islands, but across the world, and the value of collaborating closely in shared interests. And it is appropriate too on an occasion like this to recognise the courage and principle of all those trade union members past and present who have worked to keep sectarianism not only from eroding the necessary solidarity of workers and their families, but from its exploitation of difference, sectarianism's deadly influence that the trade unions have been to the fore in opposing. I would also like to recognise in a very particular way the presence of those trade unions who have come from the United States and who have come in such impressive numbers and who together with the Belfast City Council have directly supported the foundation of this centre. And I look forward to hearing from their representatives such as Terry O'Sullivan, from the Labourers International Trade Union, who will be addressing us. Maragutman Islu, as I said earlier, we are also, of course, here in West Belfast's Gaeltacht Quarter, which is the most vibrant hub for those connecting or reconnecting with our ancient but thoroughly modern Irish language. By speaking Gaeilge and in making such a connection, we are not only expressing our Grád and Gaeilge, our love of Irish, and all that goes with it, we are also communing with the generations who inhabited this place for thousands of years, with those who were compelled to leave these shores, and with the men and women among whom Unionists and Nationalists and people of all religions and of none recognise the beauty and the value of the Irish language. Malam Shivas Act and made it up when Jamaka Vimarshin, Convertach agus pobl na Gaeilge cahús a bhéadú. I méil feriste trí óisina den scop a coronát mar an gawnseo. Tres liamlid as ar nirachtaí áit an Gaeilge cor I lár an éinig. Now, as I have said, what I have just been saying in Irish, for pobl na Gaeilge for the Irish-speaking community, our language is an integral part of our identity and of our everyday lives. It is not unreasonable for us to expect that this reality be respected, accommodated and supported by public authorities. Treskin leis an publishers up another fad adop we gun arcas or carol o gert the show. Agus as up na hirachti do yen of arca, can go back and gaige maran naltak, agus in kusha, trainer figure in skilled and late, or garty younger clafta, agus our rod and graders or both are around. James Connolly himself saw the language shift from Irish to English over the 19th century as a byproduct of an oppressive, class-based capitalist system, and though their starting points were quite different, he found common cause with Irish language and cultural revivalists to press for Ireland's independence. In so many ways, Connolly saw connections between things, between labour, class, economics, independence, women's rights, war and empire. He set about forging alliances between those who were working to challenge the different aspects of a system, the complexity of which he did not underestimate and which he wanted so desperately to change. He understood the connections between the Glushak Mora, the great movements of his age, labour, cultural and language revival, nationalism and women's rights. And he would go on to immerse himself in forging alliances with each. And your library, which I saw, will provide an opportunity to access his huge range of writings, and also the literature it has provided, the critical scholarship, and the literary work. I'm thinking, for example, of using the caves to bring down a horseman. James Connolly was an internationalist at heart, and realised that the cause of labour transcended international borders. And during the years he lived in the United States, he never ceased immersing himself in the socialist and trade union movements, developing his thinking and nurturing links that would help him with his work in Ireland. And after all, it was in the United States that Connolly wrote one of his most significant works on Ireland, entitled Labour in Irish History. And after he returned to Ireland in 1910 Belfast became his base, a #1 Glenalina Terrace, less than 200 metres from where we are standing, would become a home for himself, his wife Lily, and their 6 children. James Connolly's life, from child to labour in Scotland, to Lily, his wife's phrase, Jim, your beautiful life, is one of the greatest sacrifices in our history, engaging all the themes many neglected of child labour, migration, poverty, prison and execution. When James Connolly assumed the role of branch secretary and Ulster organiser of the Irish Transport and General Workers Union, which was a relatively weak organisation in Belfast when Connolly arrived, the British-based National Union of Dock Labourers and the craft unions dominated left-wing politics, such as it was. It included the Independent Labour Party, which was British-based and opposed to Irish independence. The main political forces in Belfast at the period comprised the Unionist ruling class and the Nationalist Party under the West Belfast MP Joe Devlin. Is a gwynedd y ffordd I eistw le sian, a casio aeth sma blint y sin, ag a chiasio fod leis na haibras na dwgana, sna mwylym ag sna morar cyn ei miala, chos mwynta be periste, cyn yn sosialacus ag as cwsh na nas blockish a cotent le ciel. James Connolly found himself in contention, as I have said, with each of these forces over the next 5 years, stressing as he would again and again the inadequacies of their vision as he championed the cause of those exploited workers in the mills, factories and the docks, winning recruits for the cause of socialism and Irish independence in the process. In his first successful strike in Belfast, Connolly organised the dockers, who were paid considerably less than their counterparts in Britain. He led Catholic and Protestant workers together in support of the strike, and from the ranks of nationalist and orange musicians formed a non-sectarian band which paraded the streets collecting for the strike fund. The strike succeeded in securing increased wages for the dockers. The poor conditions of the dockers were mirrored in the linen mills of Belfast, where women and children worked in dangerous and unhealthy conditions. Connolly organised hundreds of them in all-out strike, which laid the foundations for later actions and improved working conditions. Leis an anad se nua te tíorgam, tuga deis de cortóri agus muinta na hartse. Swinge sé mis a Connolly, a stad agus mac na bhíanamh, an méid a ghain se máchas an iadstan, a bhí an ágan stíirse bhí alargad. With the opening of this centre today, locals and visitors from far and near alike will now have a place to learn of, reflect upon and engage with James Connolly's life and his rich ethical legacy in the fullest sense. And uniquely they will be able to do so in the very streets where he himself lived, worked and wrote. When reflecting on how we might remember him, it is essential, I believe, that we avoid relegating the potent ideas and ideals that drove him throughout his life to some dusty closet of a bygone past. We would be doing a great disservice to Connolly if we allowed those generous, subversive, radical, revolutionary, emancipatory ideas and ideals to become reduced to a benign, tamed version of our distant history. His writings, his injunctions, his energy, his activism, after all, own Dudley Edwards gave that title to his book, The Mind of an Activist. Connolly must remain as rallying calls for the vindication of rights, flaming beacons for justice for all, particularly the marginalised and most vulnerable. His life and ideas can continue to guide our present and illuminate our future. At each his vision, we must remember, is one yet to be fulfilled in so many respects. Concept of labour, as you have heard, was never limited to issues of wages alone, but it was built on a search through mind and heart as to how equality, political freedom and cultural ideas were reproducing in such a society inequality, and how the alternative offered a much broader philosophy that encompassed a transformative vision for the whole of society in all of its aspects. His dream was not for an island where a foreign system of oppression would be replaced with a domestic one. The speech you have just heard, for example, is a speech from below, a speech from the mind of the agricultural worker who stood to face the same exploitation from a native predator grazier as he had from an absentee landlord, as Matt Harris had often pointed out in the days of the Land League. James Connolly saw an emancipated citizenry, joined with allies from all over the world as endpoint, and this defined his difference from as much as his shared solidarity with other nationalists. It was what made the citizen army different, its collective character. As one citizen army member, Frank Robbins, has recalled in his memoir, Under the Starry Plough, which was published in 1977, the hard core of the Irish citizen army, who remained loyal to Connolly, embraced the ideal of Irish independence as expressed in the very definite terms of the Workers' Republic. The Workers' Republic of James Connolly's vision may not have come to be, but I firmly believe that Connolly's thinking, his ethics, his courage and strategic reflections can usefully inform today's efforts to address the interconnected challenges of our time, can provide guidance for the different groups who are coming from a variety of backgrounds and traditions and orientations, but that see a common good of what are global as well as regional challenges. One need only think today of the modern-day exploitation of workers to understand that much remains to be done in a new age of technological impact to bring about decent work for all, an understanding of labour as a source of personal dignity and freedom and fulfilment, family stability, prosperity in the community, and the flourishing of democracy. We should defend the space of the utopian tradition in discourse, for such a defence does not contradict any informed or practical pragmatism. A most important legacy of James Connolly for us today is the place he always gave and would carve out for women, particularly among the ranks of the Irish Citizen Army and in his hopes for the Ireland of the future. It is well known that during the rising Citizen Army officer Dr. Kathleen Lynn was second in command at City Hall, while Constance Markovic and Margaret Stilleter played important competent roles at Stephen's Green, and they were welcomed by him as equals in every sense. More profoundly, Connolly and figures such as Francis Sheehy Skeffington, pacifist, feminist and utopian thinker, who was a member of the Citizen Army at its outset, saw women's emancipation as being essential to any genuine social progress. And if I may just quote the words of James Connolly himself from the Reconquest of Ireland, which he wrote in 1918, he asks, of what use can be the re-establishment of any form of Irish state if it does not embody the emancipation of womanhood, as we have shown the whole spirit and practice of modern Ireland, as it expresses itself through its pastors and masters, bears socially and politically hardly upon women. In its march towards freedom, the working class of Ireland must cheer on the efforts of those women who, feeling on their souls and bodies the fetters of the ages, have arisen to strike them off. Connolly's injunction to women to break their chains and march towards freedom are ones that still resonate powerfully all over the world, with us not just in Ireland but in all those places across the world where the journey towards full equality and dignity for women is still ongoing. Our life together is sullied and scarred by each and every act of violence against women, including the frightening and unacceptable level of domestic violence that still prevails even on this island. There is Marcockle Square, finally and importantly, James Connolly's great gift of internationalism, of a solidarity that reaches to humanity across national boundaries, a form of solidarity to which we so urgently now in our world need to offer support, and into which we must breathe new life as we seek to respond to great global challenges of our time. Challenges that can only be tackled together with our brothers and sisters with whom we share this fragile planet. The world is awash with forces seeking to accumulate, to divide, to erect barriers between peoples, to withdraw behind borders, to undermine and abandon the international architecture so carefully constructed after the devastation of the Second World War, wars that were paid for with the lives of working people. What is needed now is not for any of us to be mute or intimidated. What is needed for those willing to reassert the principles of equality, justice, cooperation and solidarity, of shared vulnerability and capacity at local, national and international levels, to speak with respect for these values and to speak to each other with respect as in our different ways we pursue them. We need to discover the importance, promise and values of the connections between ethics, the economy and ecology, and discover radically new ways of living that deliver social justice, equality, human dignity, and puts an end to global warfare and achieves global welfare without imperiling our natural world. Reminding ourselves of Connolly's vision is such a good place to start. In so many ways, James Connolly sought to free people from apathy and from the resignation that the world as it was could not be changed radically, nor changed fundamentally for the better. There is nothing inevitable about a system that exploits or does not treat people with dignity. He sought to transcend what he saw as the contrived divisions between the people of this island, to demolish what was perceived as the natural order of difference in rights and capacities between people of different nationalities or religions or classes. He sought to unite those with common cause, to find a shared understanding of the importance of workers, irrespective of their differences, and their right to the fruits of their labour as you have had. And these thoughts are today as important, inspiring and emancipatory as they were then. Our poetry, Shimavana, Tá muinen am go cuirig oras I Connolly and Ardishkin, Eirat Castil and Each Shemaf o Connolly. Mar hoshili eber Marshund agus mar Cab Cumini. Mar einlen a barsten Foblachtanat Ernak. An Radit field of Bader Nam Tishkin de Liake. En a Kangeli de Gnehe Soon and Fiercirsha. Agus for dinner sound to lay of all. I am confident that Oris I Connolly can become a valuable resource to bring us on that journey through the complex and multidimensional legacy of James Connolly, his life and work as international socialist, as trade unionist, just together with his role as an Irish Republican. Most instructive perhaps is his understanding of the connection between the integrated dimensions of true freedom that gave us such a unique character to his exceptional life and work. In that respect, as in many others, James Connolly was far ahead of his time, and he has still much to teach us. Is darsid of awesome. Gwen gar brari blesh an anad nuisha, anad at quadmatic fish casporius jalsanut, hiemish Connolly biodun illa. I so wish you every continued success in your innovative and inspirational visitor centre, a public space which is a worthy homage and rendering for today's island of James Connolly, a remarkable and enduringly important figure, not only on this island but far beyond. And may it be the beginning of new and deeper scholarship to keep his vision alive and to understand all its setbacks as well as its successes. Mila Buikas, I formally declare the centre open. Mila Buikas is Verbanach from Party.
Thank you, President. You just watch yourself in the ambulance. Pause. Please welcome to the stage a founding member of RSC Connolly, trade union activist, Republican activist Jim McVeigh.
Wow, what a speech, Mr. President. I'll stop between when I left the President of Ireland and on my way to James Connolly. What an experience for me. It's wonderful. We're here to welcome James Connolly, the General Secretary of our great union, the Irish Transport and General Workers Union, my union. And we want to send a message out as we stand here on the Falls Road, to the Shankill Road, to Tigers Bay, to the village, that we gather here not as Catholics and Protestants, not as nationalists or Republicans, but as workers united in the cause of human freedom and socialism. James Connolly may have been born in Edinburgh, but he was made in Belfast. Army recruitment, Walford Basement. I think he would appreciate the irony himself. So just very briefly, I know we have a long list of speakers. 13 years ago, a small number of us had a dream to build the James Connolly Visitor Centre. Myself, Harry Connolly, Lynn McBride, who's here somewhere, and Daniel Jack, he's here also. But of course, dreams, it's easy to dream, much more difficult to do and to build. But we did so with the help of so many people, too many to name and to list. But I do want to, on behalf of all the people involved in helping this day come about, identify and speak about two groups of people. One is in Belfast City Council, and this is not a party political point, the Sinn Féin team on Belfast City Council, who secured £950,000 from Belfast City Council to build this centre. So I want to thank and I also want to thank Councillor Kieran Beating, who's here as well, for getting us that money. And believe it or not, I also want to thank the DUP for supporting that funding. So there's an example of cross-community work. The other group that I want to thank, we have over 100 American and Canadian trade union comrades here today with us. To be here. And I've asked them, they're probably covered throughout the crowd. Could you put your hands up? Don't be shy. Our Canadian American friends. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for making this happen today. That's real solidarity. Not only did you travel to be here, but you contributed hundreds of thousands of hard-earned dollars to make this a reality. We didn't get our money from Donald Trump or Richard Branson. We got it from working people across the US and across Canada. So thank you very much for making this happen. Over 100 years ago, James Connolly was executed. He was buried in an unmarked grave, and the people who executed him thought that he would be forgotten about. This year, we hope that over 20,000 people will visit this centre and learn about James Connolly and learn about what he believed in. And his memory will live on for a long, long time because of the generosity of those people from America and Canada. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And Chairperson Foster Percy here.
Start off by saying that obviously I went in last night's shooting as well in the murder of Lara McKee. It is an attack on the entire community. It's an attack against the peace process, and it's also an attack against the Good Friday Agreement. The people of Derry don't want it, the people of Ireland don't want it, don't support it, and we send our condolences from here today to Lara's family. Today is a very proud day for Fáilte Percy here in West Belfast. And as the MP for West Belfast and a proud chairperson of Fáilte Percy here, I stand with you all here today. Jim McSpey said a few weeks ago that Connolly is coming home. He said today, the 18th of April, that's when he arrives. Well, today he has arrived home, and we're here to greet him and welcome him here in the heart of the Falls Road. Fáilte arrives to reach James. Earlier this week I suggested that we call today James Connolly Day, and what a day it has been. Some years ago, Fáilte Percy here embarked on a new journey, a programme of work that attempted to ensure that our tourism potential here in West Belfast was realised. The pillars that underpin our tourism offering included our local people, that is you. You're central and you're sovereign, you're warm, you're welcome, and you're very proud. Our tourism model is in the spirit of James Connolly. It is people-centred and community-centred. It is about having core community values, balanced and equality-rooted economic principles that ensure that development takes place in a way in which a new society of equals can flourish. This day will be remembered for many years. Connolly's legacy will be here for an eternity. and I have absolutely no doubt that the full impact of RSC Connolly will be felt here for generations. It will be felt in the homes of those people who will find employment here. It will be felt in the homes of the many sectors impacted upon an increase in tourism. It will be felt in the homes across the world of those people who visit it, and it will be felt in the workplace of those people who are inspired by Connolly's mantra to go and agitate, organise and educate. And critically, we stand here 103 years after the rising of 1916. James Connolly's formidable ideals will be here and felt for generations. We are preserving that legacy of a great man, and I am delighted to be here and privileged to have played a role in realising this tremendous vision. No matter who you are, from concept, idea to contractor, you can be proud of what you have achieved. And to conclude, I want to say a big, massive Fóra Míle Mágat to the staff of Fáilte First here, to the contractors, to the trade unions, and to all you for making this a reality. Fóra Mágat.
It's fitting that we've representatives here today of trade union leaders from all over the world, as you've heard. And in the international spirit of James Connolly, please welcome Francis O'Grady, General Secretary of the British Trade Union Congress.
Thank you very much. Thank you, brothers and sisters and comrades. To bring solidarity on behalf of the TUC and to share a platform with the President of Ireland and so many brilliant speakers and artists and all the workers who have created this wonderful, wonderful centre. But also to be here arm in arm with the Irish Congress, standing up and speaking up for our shared values of equality, justice, I need to express our sadness, our condolences for Lyra too. As we heard from the President, not just a talented young writer, but a campaigner for gay equal rights. And also a member of our family, the National Union of Journalists. So let's remember her. Let's remember her by redoubling our efforts. True equality for everybody, but also to win progress on the Good Friday Agreement and peace for all. It's a great personal honour as well to be here to celebrate the life of James Connolly. He was born in the same year as the first ever TUC Congress was held, when we formed our first ever demands for free education, for the 8-hour working day, and for working class representation in Parliament. But if you look at the conditions that James was born into, and you look at what's happening with the Westminster Tory austerity cuts, the conditions are not so different. Too much slum housing, too much grinding poverty, the use of drugs on our estates, and violence against migrant workers. And we still have to say that back then it was anti-Irish riots in Edinburgh. Today, migrant workers are under attack, and we as trade unionists, we need to be clear. We do not blame migrant workers for low pay. We blame them. A socialist, an internationalist, he was a feminist, and he was a trade unionist. He was one of the foremost thinkers of teachers who are being paid the minimum wage. What would he think of that? Was very moved by the film that I believe is in that centre, in our centre, that shows Laura Connolly giving an account of the last conversation between her parents before James was executed, when Lily broke down and said, "But James, your beautiful life, your beautiful life." Well, I know that James Connolly would want us to remember his death by fighting for the living and to do everything we can to rebuild trade unionism, to organise, 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 and that's the way we will win equality.
Well, it's time for a bit of music. Cruncher.
Salvage some of that pride, 45 I'll be in the queue. I watch my darling wife trying to make the best of life. Oh, and God knows what the kids are gonna do. Oh, now that we are best, we let human rest. Yes, a generation cast aside. For as long as I live, I never will forgive. I'm strictly over, they got taken by pride. You strip me bare, don't work today. You strip me bare, down, you strip me bare.
Wonderful, Terry, thank you. We're delighted here today that the Assistant General Secretary of the Irish Congress of Trade Unions, Owen Reedy, is here today on behalf of Congress. So please give a warm, full, rude welcome to ICTU representative Owen Reedy.
Thank you very much, Harry, President, guests. It's wonderful to see so many people here today, not just from Belfast, but many faces from beyond at the opening of what I think is a truly important centre, again, not just for the people of Belfast, but for the island of Ireland. So, on behalf of the 800,000 women and men across the Irish Congress of Trade Unions, I want to congratulate and commend everybody from near and far associated with the important delivery and development of this very important centre. Memorials can do many things. And we know in this society only too well that at times they can be very divisive. But I think we also know that they can be spaces where we can recall the ideals of dead generations as having a real bearing on lives today. For example, well over 100 years ago, Connolly formed the Irish Socialist Republican Party and developed a programme that was incredibly radical in its day. But if you look at most of its tenements, much of it has become common currency in what we call a normal, modern democratic society. Universal suffrage for women and people without property, free education to university level, the 48-hour working week and a minimum wage. Most and all of these issues have become facts. And the President of Ireland here today spent his lifetime fighting for those very same policies, informed by both the values and ethics that all progressive and activists have in common with James Connolly and his generation of trade unionists and social radicals, particularly those who serve the interest of this wonderful city. I would suggest they serve the interest of all of the working people of this city. And those people, I include Jim Larkin, Mary Galway, William Walker and Connolly's comrade Winifred Kearney. Aspects of Connolly's manifesto became the hallmark of a modern European state. And these are the values and achievements that are being threatened by populism and right-wing nationalism, and we have to make sure that we come together to defend those values. These are the ramparts that we all defend in every union, in every workplace, and in the corridors of power where we are trying to make a difference to say that workers must not pay the price of this chaotic Brexit. And we have good, strong allies in our movement across these islands and indeed across the continent, particularly with our colleagues in the TUC under the excellent leadership of our comrade Francis O'Grady, and indeed across Europe with other trade union federations. As has been said by the President, James Connolly was an internationalist who fought for and aimed to organise workers of the world, literally. He moved through the dozens of languages as he worked and organised in New York. One big union with a list of policies and demands for everyone to make an honest living in a society which measures its progress on those metrics. Common goods in common hands. the legacy of entire societies, and not the frozen memorial to dead heroes. Now, another thinker of the left who moved from these islands to America concluded late in his life that internationalism is the highest form of patriotism. And I think this building and this man deserve to be part of that common heritage and, importantly, common future. And a good start would be to ensure that every workplace in this city is a fair workplace with decent work, where every worker has the right to join a union free from persecution and harassment. And that the vision we in the movement here share with the Lord Mayor of a fair work city for this city is realised. But I do think the best way for us to truly honour the legacy of James Connolly, then of the Irish Transport and General Workers Union, and now of SIPTU, is for this generation of trade unionists to prioritise the organising of the hundreds of thousands of workers across this island with no collective voice, to ensure that they and their families can indeed lead a decent life. And I want to just briefly conclude my remarks, because I think it would be wrong not to make reference to it, to the tragic events in Derry last night with the callous murder of a young worker, a young woman with a life ahead of her, a journalist, a member of the NUJ, and as Francis has said, one of our family. And I think as the largest civil society movement across this island that is truly cross-community, we have to say today that every worker, whoever they are, has the right to go to work, spend their day at work and come home safely to their family without fear of threat or violence or worse. And we have to remember Lyra's spirit and make sure that this is the end of this type of activity in this society. Thank you very much.
The Mayor of Belfast, Deirdre Hargay, has been a champion of equality in her term of office. She has been a champion of RSC Connolly. Please welcome our first citizen.
Thanks very much, everybody, and I'm delighted to see so many people here on this important occasion. And I suppose, just as the Mayor of Belfast, I want to start by extending my condolences on behalf of the city to Lara McKee's partner, Sarah, her family, and also her friends for the senseless murder that happened in Derry last night. And the ironic thing, as was noted, was that Lara was a 29-year-old woman. She was a journalist and a worker, a trade union and a human rights activist. And I was delighted to be joined today by the NUJ and also the President of Ireland in the opening of a book of condolence. And that book will remain open for the remainder of the week, running into next week. Again, I want to thank James Connolly Hearn, who's here today, a descendant of James Connolly, again the President of Ireland, and his wife Sabina, the trade union movements from here in Ireland, Britain, and also in North America, the political and community activists that are here, the working people of Belfast and beyond, and our working class communities, and also to the committee behind this amazing centre that stands behind us today in the heart of West Belfast, to Fleisch, to Paul, to Harry, to Mick, and to everybody else in Fulsha First here, and those who are trying to promote this important work in the city. Gormila Mayoga to each and every one of you. I'm proud to be here, not just as the Mayor of this city, but also as a working class Belfast woman. This is an historic day that will forever be known as James Connolly Day. And it is important that we remember and mark the role and contribution of Connolly, the role and contribution that he made on our great city. And we know that in this great city of Belfast we have a proud and long tradition of trade unionism, of political and community activism that runs deep. And I'm delighted that our unions have come together from across the island, across these islands and across the globe to join all of the working people here in the city of Belfast today. And this is true international solidarity and unity. This reflects who James Connolly was as a person. He was a Republican, he was an Irish patriot, he was a socialist, an internationalist, a feminist. He put the rights of working people and class politics at the heart and centre of all that he done. and though he was anti-sectarianism and anti-racist as well. And that fight and campaign for rights and equality still exists here today. There's unfinished work to be done in 2019 and work to be completed. And this centre, the learning from this centre, the programmes in the new summer programme that will be in this centre, the fact that this centre each and every week will have free information for workers in this city and beyond to access your rights as workers within Belfast will be here in the heart of this James Connolly Centre. And I'm just going to leave by saying it is the role of all of us to finish the unfinished work, the vision that James Connolly and others who actually give the ultimate sacrifice in their lives to finish that work. So let us organise, let us unionise, let us mobilise and finish the job.
There would be no RNC Connolly without the leadership and vision and support of the American trade union movement, and we're delighted that close to 100 of them have travelled thousands of miles. The leader of that progressive movement is a true friend of West Belfast. Please welcome, all the way from the USA, Harry O'Sullivan, General President of LIDA.
Thank you, Harry, for that very kind introduction. My friends, as a proud citizen of both Ireland and the United States, whose family came from Glencar in County Kerry, I am excited to be back in my ancestral homeland to commemorate the life and immortal legacy of James Connolly. It's great to be here today at this historic event in this historic city, dedicating this important institution with elected officials and trade unionists, and particularly with all of my strong, proud, and united brothers and sisters of the Labor's International Union of North America. Before I begin, there's a few people I would like to recognize. First, I am honored to be here with Irish President Michael D. Higgins. Please give it up for our President. Speaker of the House of Representatives, and whose birthday is today, Mike Madigan, who's with us as well. International Union of Operating Engineers General President Jimmy Callahan. Transport Workers Union International President John Samuelson. Plumbers and Pipe Fitters General Secretary Treasurer Pat Kellett. My friend and brother, North American Building Trades Union General President Sean McGarvey. And one of our own, Robbie Hunter, who is the head of the California State Building Trades, is also with us. My wife and 3 kids are here as well as what Harry was talking about, all the labor leaders across the United States and Canada. We are representing North American building trades men and women, over 3,000 strong, and we're here to support the Connolly Center any way that we possibly can. I also want to recognize the labor leaders from Ireland and England that are with us here today. We're honored to be in their presence as well. Paul Maskey, Harry Connolly, and their team. This would not have been a reality without their leadership and their efforts, so please give them and their entire team a round of applause for a job well done. And last, but certainly not least, I'm glad that Jerry Adams is here with us today. Jerry is a personal hero of mine, a true patriot, peacemaker, and champion of justice, who is an heir to James Connolly legacy. Please give it up for Jerry Adams. My friends, we are gathered here today at this historical grand opening, not to celebrate history, but to challenge ourselves to finish a job started more than a century ago by a great man, a man whose voice speaks to us today, James Connolly. He was one of the greatest Irish patriots of all time, an extraordinary leader, an organizer, a writer, and an inspirational speaker who came to Belfast to unite workers of all faiths, to fight together for their rights, brothers and sisters in the same struggle. He knew that this city's religious divisions were stoked and inflamed by a government across the sea to divide and conquer its people. He knew that the three great national movements of the time had to join forces to bring about change. That the Republican movement, the women's movement, and the labor movement had to stand together in common cause. The 1916 Rising needed Markovitch from the Big House and Rosie Hackett from the Dublin Tenement, the poet and the laborer, the Protestant and the Catholic, fighting side by side for a republic with equal rights and opportunities for all of its citizens. Connolly knew that labor was the heart, the soul, the blood, the sweat, and the backbone of all nations, and that only workers could be counted on to build an independent, democratic Irish republic with equal justice for all of its citizens. This led him to famously declare on the side of the building, "The cause of labor is the cause of Ireland, and the cause of Ireland is the cause of labor." As one of the leaders of the Rising, James Connolly has become an icon, a symbol, and a beacon for the hopes, the dreams, and the aspirations of Irish Republicans, trade unionists, and champions of justice around the world. But any tribute to James Connolly would be empty, shallow, and meaningless if we remember his life but ignore what he stood for. If we mourn his death but allow ladders of opportunity to be snatched from the living. If we applaud his work but do nothing to complete it. At the heart of that work was his conviction that political reform without economic reform would merely replace alien oppressors with native-born ones. James Connolly worked, fought, and died to build a republic that would not only be free and united, but economically just as well. My friends, we're not there yet. There's still a lot of work to be done. And James Connolly's legacy remains incomplete. It's an affront to democracy, justice, and humanity that a privileged few possesses the bulk of the world's wealth. That those that caused the last recession remain rich and free, while their victims were left unemployed and drowning in debt. That austerity policies and deep budget cuts have gutted public programs and have harmed the most vulnerable. Most of all, that this very city, the very ground on which we stand today, remains subject to the unpredictable winds and political neglect of a government across the sea more than a century after the proclamation of the Irish Republic. Class, I say, you cannot memorialize James Connolly even while hurting the people he fought for. Workers, farmers, the urban and rural poor. You cannot hold the flag of Ireland in one hand and the bullwhip of exploitation in the other. You cannot pay homage to the patriots of 1916 but defend partition and the status quo today. You cannot honor this great internationalist, yet seek to retreat behind borders, boundaries, and Brexit. Brothers and sisters, we must answer such hypocrisy with action and resolve. Now is the time for all workers to arise, to refuse to live on our knees, to reclaim our birthright, to complete James Connolly's work, and to fulfill his dream. Fighting for these ideals will not be easy, and it certainly will not make us popular. But great strides for justice have always been made by the rebels, the troublemakers, and the rabble-rousers. Washington, Gandhi, King, Mandela, McGinnis, Connolly. Although today James Connolly might be widely celebrated, in his own time he was cursed by the elite, condemned by the powerful, convicted and murdered by the kangaroo court of an oppressive occupier. Connolly himself once observed that apostles of freedom are idolized when dead, but crucified when living. This Senate will honor James Connolly by being much more than a museum. It will be a center for progressive research, pro-labor activism, and renewed organizing. It will challenge all of us to finish his work. It will make every one of us uneasy, uncomfortable, and unsatisfied as long as justice is denied. It will inspire all who pass through its doors to prefer social justice to social acceptance, to choose righteousness over respectability, and to side with workers rather than wealth. Finally, the James Connolly Center will ensure that his spirit continues to walk abroad by facilitating and supporting workers rising up against abuse and exploitation, people fighting for freedom and independence, and everyone battling prejudice and bigotry. Most of all, the James Connolly Center will unite all those in both the North and South who refuse to accept hard borders, soft borders, virtual borders, or any damn border at all. And so, my brothers and sisters, as we officially open the James Connolly Center, let us do more than cut a ribbon and raise a glass. Let us recommit ourselves and our organizations to completing his work. James Connolly fought for a dream. He took a stand for freedom. We could stand no more. Was tied to a chair and executed for daring to declare that a new world must begin. But he did not die in vain. Too many now have joined the fight and dared to dream that dream. They silenced his voice, but not his song of freedom. They stopped his beating heart, but not his drumbeat of rebellion. Today, we join that battle. We declare that his dream persists and that we will see it through. We are strong and determined people who will not be locked out again. We will not be pit brother against brother, sister against sister. We will not allow those who drove us to foreign shores and famine ships to drive yet another generation into economic exile. And we will not accept table scraps from the capitalist feast laid out for the privileged few and served on the bent, burdened, and broken backs of the many. So I say, brothers and sisters, like Jim Larkin, rise up, brothers and sisters. We who create the wealth of the world with our sweat, our toil, our brains, our brawn, and our hands will no longer sit back and wait for that wealth to trickle down to us. We demand our fair share now. We will not stop until all working people in Ireland and around the world are guaranteed a fair day's pay for a fair day's work and the ability to build better lives for themselves and their families. Most of all, we will not rest until the proud and noble people divided for far too long, are finally reunited in peace and justice under one flag. So I say, brothers and sisters, in James Connolly's memory, let us stand together, let us stay together, let us fight together, and let us win together. And when we do, we will change the course, the direction, and the destiny of our unions, of our nations, and the world. Thank you, brothers and sisters, and in the spirit of James Connolly, may we always feel the power, may we always use the power, and may we always be the power.
Final speaker, I have got to know James Connolly Hearn over the past number of years. A humble man and a man in his own right who has fought to preserve the revolutionary streets of Ireland, a defender of heritage and great grandson of James Connolly. Please welcome Jim Connolly Hearn.
We said it couldn't be done. 3 weeks ago, we were up here looking at a building site, and it's incredible. It's an incredible achievement on the part of Connolly and his team of workers to have completed RC Connolly for the people of this area, the people of the Falls Road, West Belfast, and the people of Ireland. Bula Boss for Connolly and his team. This is a very special day, and on special days such as this, we are always mindful of those family members, friends, colleagues and comrades who would be standing in solidarity with us today, but who are sadly no longer with us. They are very much in our thoughts, we miss them, they live in our hearts, and we mark their absence today with a special round of applause. Bula Boss for our missing friends. Uachtaráin, Sabina, Mayor, members of the RC Connolly project, comrades and friends from near and far, citizens. First, as family members, we thank you for allowing us to participate in this important historic event, the opening of this incredible centre honouring the memory of my great-grandfather on the very road he and his family would have walked many times. We see today what they saw, follow their footsteps along the very streets where they lived, worked, shared stories, sang songs and dreamed their dreams. Here in the Falls Road we can reach out and touch history. Still remembered and held in high esteem in the hearts and minds of working people, political activists and trade unionists at home and abroad. His life and times marked in cities that influenced his remarkable life and times. Edinburgh, New York, Chicago, Belfast and Dublin. But this area can lay special claim on him. West Belfast moulded and shaped his life as a socialist, a Republican, a militant trade union activist and self-described disturber of the political peace. As a much-travelled family was here in Belfast that they found their first real home. A home Lily Connolly dreaded leaving, not knowing for sure what awful fate awaited her in Dublin at the end of the Rising. The brutal end, as she herself described it, of a beautiful life. But wasn't it a full life, Lily? He replied. And a full life it certainly was. It was here her husband rose to prominence as a friend of the working class, a defender of their interests and a champion of their rights. Ireland without her people is nothing to me, he declared. Here his daughter set up a girls' branch of Na Fianna. Youth in that family was not wasted on the young. In the words of Frank Allen's great song, how proud they were to be the daughters of James Connolly. A remarkable family in a remarkable time, They were part of a golden generation of our people who volunteered to set out from the darkness and despair of slum poverty to build a bright new dawn of liberty and freedom from conquest, oppression and colonial rule. And they did so for no monetary gain or reward, not a cent, not a shilling. Our demands most modest are, he wrote, we only want the earth. And we are the direct beneficiaries of their struggle for justice and equality. Their sacrifice a constant reminder that freedom does not fall from the sky. They must never be forgotten. This centre will introduce a new generation to the aims and ideals of that golden generation, the likes of which we have not seen since, the likes we may never see again. And that memory must be held, their story told, if we are to build a society in the interest of all and not to the benefit of the few. A society of equality in education, health and housing, the pillars of a democratic society with nobody left behind, abandoned, forgotten, lost or lonely. An injury to one being an injury to all. What has been achieved along the Falls Road is inspirational, a signpost for the future, a community confident in itself, proud of its past, planning for tomorrow and reclaiming our language, our music, our dance, our theatre, once taken from us at the point of a sword, as a source of pride and prejudice, to be cherished, not challenged, to be shared, not sneered at. Tirgan Changa, Tirgan Hanam. This is your time. If we need an example of people power, you can now say with pride, come to West Belfast. If we wonder what can be achieved at local level, you can now say, come to West Belfast. If we want to see the future, come here to West Belfast. A difficult past has become a doable future, a presentation of what can be achieved when a community comes together with a common purpose and goal. The failed politics of the past replaced by the new politics of the people. The heartbeat of any community is its people acting in unison, caring for one another, demanding of each other, and delivering for each other. The greatness of soul of individual citizens joining forces as one for the benefit of all. The story of this success. This centre will not only inspire visitors, it will change lives. The torch of freedom on Clive Sullish passing now to a new generation, mindful of a past, acting in the present and planning for the future. This is an incredible achievement for all those who played a part, however great or small, in the realisation of what was once a dream but today becomes a reality. And this is your golden day in the sun. This centre is the result of all your efforts. The benefits are all ours. No greater gift to future generations than this. Today, it is fitting that at this Easter time, a son of Belfast comes home. Through this centre, his memory is held, his cause endures, his dream of a full, free and happy life for all lives on. The story of his full life now told by way of exhibition, a life remembered, a name honoured in the heart of a community where people have found their voice, their place, their pride, sense of identity in solidarity. For family members, this is a very special and emotional day, and the warmth of your welcome will forever remain with us. And we are humbled by your achievement. We especially thank Harry Connolly, Joe Austin, Jim McVeigh for their sterling work. We salute you all, and we are forever in your debt. In the final hours of the rising, James Connolly issued a defiant last statement in tribute to his fellow revolutionaries who had fought the good fight, in words that I trust are not out of place in paying tribute to you all at this special time, at this special place. Never had a man or woman a grander cause. Never was a cause more grandly served. You have, all of you, served the cause. Guravila, Mila Mahagiv, Belair.
And finally, we decided that rather than cut a ribbon, we would raise the flag of the Irish Citizen Army. At Line 95, our centre manager, Shana Walsh, an international president of the Transport Workers Union, all the way from Brooklyn, New York City, John Samuelson, and this young man at the front who's away around who dressed today in his ICA uniform to raise the flag of the Irish Citizen Army on the Falls Road. And as the flag is raised, I'd like to invite Francis Black, one of Ireland's most famous, finest and best singers, to the stage to conclude today's proceedings with a special song.
Thank you. This is a song about the loss and the grief that the people of Ireland felt after James Connolly was killed. Where, oh, where is our James Connolly? Where, oh, where is that gallant man? He's gone to organise the unions, that working men, they might yet be free. Then who will lead the van? Then who will lead the van? Who but our James Connolly, the hero of the working man? Who'll carry high the burning flag? Who'll carry high the burning flag? Who but our James Connolly would carry high the burning flag? Where, oh, where is the citizen army? Where, oh, where is that gallant band? They've gone to join the great rebellion, that working men, they might yet be free. So they carried him up to the jail. They carried him up to the jail, and they shot him down on a bright May morning, and quickly laid him in his gore. Who mourns the death of this great man? Who mourns the death of this great man? Oh, bury me down in yon green garden, with Union men on every side. So they buried him down in yon green garden, with Union men on every side, and they swore they would form a mighty union, that James Connolly's name might be filled with pride. Where, oh, where is our James Connolly? Where, oh, where is that gallant man? He's gone to organize the union, that working men, they might yet be free.
Folks, that concludes our opening proceedings. I look forward to seeing these shoes tomorrow at 10 o'clock when we open the doors to the public. Loads of watering holes around here. Refreshments are available in the West, the Rock and the Fallons. And I'd now like to invite the President and his wife Sabina and our other guests to leave the stage. So please, one last round of applause for all of our guest speakers.